Shalom. Kol Halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai Bahasham Rakah HaKodash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than never. The would-be judges, the 144,000 at Tabernacle of David, ordained to be the ruling class government, the ruling class people over all other nations here on earth, right, under the authority of who the world falsely and fraudulently call JC. His name is Yahushai, always was, always will be, and he's coming back to set up the 12 tribes of Israel, the 144,000, Amos 9 and 11. All right, the heaven will be an earthly kingdom ruled over by the Israelites, a physical sperm line, a seed line, which the Lord is a part of that seed line. And to the rest of the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners, among the heathen nations that have the appearance of the heathen nations. This is not a black only thing. All right, this is an Israelite thing, for the Israelites are scattered among all people. That's why the Lord is going to send the angels to gather them up, to gather up the wheat from the tares. All right, and to the few akwaf, meaning the sisters that are listening and learning, to you I say shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone in Chicago, coming at you with another lesson in truth. It's going to read the copyright disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is permitted by the copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Salakia. So the first thing I want to talk about, because all these things here are leading up to sedition. All right, you got people that are mad that they have a corrupt government. They no longer want to support a corrupt government that does not follow the law of the land and just throws out codes and statutes here and there that just completely trample over the law of the land, which is the Constitution, and mistreat the people and overtax them, and and just they're tired of it. When you have a government that doesn't follow the legal system, but yet it wants the people to do the same, and people are tired. And also they're tired of these elites, especially the Epstein class, not being held accountable for their crimes when the everyday citizen is. And I'm going to give you an example of it, like with this speech of projection that Melania gave. As a matter of fact, I had looked that up. Projection blaming. Okay, says projection is an unconscious or very conscious defense mechanism where individuals attribute their own unacceptable thoughts, feelings, or shortcomings unto others to avoid guilt or shame. By blaming others for their own mistakes or negative traits, they preserve their ego and avoid dealing with uncomfortable emotions. It is often a sign of poor emotional regulation. No, it's just a sign of being a low-down, dirty snake. That nature of Edom. All right, which brings to mind a scripture. I had jotted down a few scriptures, and this was going to roll with the Spirit, whatever the Spirit gives to me. But this scripture comes out often, weekly at this point. But this is Isaiah 29 and 15. And it reads, "Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from Yahweh, and their works are in the dark, and they say, who seeth us, and who knoweth us?" So, not knowing the full story, I knew that there was something behind the clear and apparent projection that Melania Trump gave the other day. And I did a lesson on it yesterday, and someone came on You're saying, oh, you're using images that have been proven to be false. Nah. No, what they're doing is they're using AI and propaganda to take images and pictures that are actually real and think real things that happen. And all of a sudden they get put in a fact check. Basically, you got false checks and balances. That's what it comes down to. Fact check, coming from America, 99 times out of 100, it's a false balance. And they're really trying to hide something. So I'm going to play, this was a really good video. You can see the name of it. Melania's ex-friend just exposed every dirty secret Melania tried to hide about Jeffrey Epstein. And this is from Eugene's docu stories from Kenya, you know. And this brother Eugene reminds me of I don't know if he's a Hamite or a Jake. I really haven't, because I never really listened to him. I always go to his, to whoever's the images of the guests that he have. But all that aside, brother kind of reminds me of Sapari, brother up in the one of our beloved brothers up in the north, up in the Evanston camp, way up north. But without any further ado, this is Eugene's guest. And matter of fact, before she speaks, one more scripture. This one comes out as well, almost weekly, because that's the time and spirit that we're in. All right. Edomite women are tired of their men. Okay. They really are, collectively. And this is Joel 27 and 15. It says, those that remain of him shall be buried in death, and his widows shall not weep. All right. And like it says in verse 13, this is the portion of a wicked man with God, and the heritage of oppressors that they shall receive of the Almighty. And one of those things is that the curses that fell upon us, that women turn on them, that's part of that curse. And that whole Psalm 64 and 8. Matter of fact, let me get that too. Because the Lord is putting that spirit on Esau, Edom to tell on themselves. Meaning he's telling on people that he think are bad people, but they're his people. Right? And it's making the whole race look bad. But it says, Psalm 64 and 8. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. All right. So I'm going to play all the way up to about the 19th minute. So it's about 12 minutes of this video. And it's just a lot of really good information that I think really needs to be heard. And, the Spirit jumps on me to interject and bring in a few scriptures. Because I remember watching it, all sorts of scriptures were popping in my head. But that was hours ago. It was still daylight. It's dark now. It's late. It's getting late. But it was early in the day when I watched this. And I saved it to my watch later so I could do a response to it. So, and all I did was jot down the times. And not, I didn't write down any scriptures, but a lot of scriptures popped in my head. So here we go.
And they are true. She has seen some things. And then goes on to say, I will take legal action against you and your...
Wait, now this is about her friend. She's a Brazilian model who was also an underage person on the Lolita Express dealing with the whole Epstein Island and Epstein and Trump. And there's so much evidence, and you're still going to have some... idiot like on my last video, try to get on there and try to do better. No, you do better, Edomite. Because it was an Edomite trying to defend, their wickedness. But, Salakia, I was drinking that tea. But her name is Amanda Angara. All right. Yeah, Amanda Angaro. That's her name. And she's Asherite from Brazil. But you know what? She trusted in her enemy, even let him put his wicked seed in her. She brought forth a tear. See? So here we go.
He had to scribble it out. Husband, I've known you for 20 years. You know I was detained in ICE. You were present in my life every year on my son's birthday, even sending Secret Service and being the first to congratulate him back in 2016. Something was clearly wrong, but I am not part of any evil mission involving children. So what did you do, Melania? You tried to involve me, but you failed because I have character. Clearly here implying that Melania tried to get her in on some kind of the sex trafficking ring, and she denied. I will tear down your corrupt system, even if it is the last thing I do. I will go all the way. I am not afraid. Maybe you should be afraid of what I know, of who you are, of who your husband is. Yeah. And then she's finding this old address that Melania did and saying, until you fall as a little chicken, which is just funny. And there's a TikToker on here. I'll find his @ and put it up here so you guys can.
Let me pause that too. This woman's life is in danger. She says she has nothing else to lose. But her life, because clearly she's lost everything behind this. And you're going to hear what happened to her. All right. And it was, and now you can understand why Melania came out and tried to get out in front of this, because this woman was, felt like she was betrayed by Melania over a 20-year relationship, because she broke up with her husband, and her husband was in bed with the Epstein class, with the Trump administration. And so her husband called in a favor on the breakup and basically had her deported. And he was facing, which goes to show you how wicked that, we'll get to that, I'm getting ahead of myself. But had her deported and had her current now husband deported as well, and false charges pressed upon them, and of course their rights were completely violated because ICE arrested them and held them without, with any charges being, it was a mess. So we'll let you hear it.
And see that started making videos about this earlier, or maybe even previously to this, and she very correctly was saying the fact she's right about what I know says everything. And yes, it does, because the fact that Melania is a response to this is the only thing it could be a response to, in my opinion, gets up and does a completely impromptu address that allegedly Trump was not even aware that she was about to be making. Girl, you're scared. So not only is this girlhood dead.
I doubt if Trump didn't know, but there's a picture of Melania and this woman back in the day. And that woman, she was very good looking. A lot of Brazilian women are attractive, man. They're very attractive. That Judite, Asherite, and Edomite mix, those features, of those, that blend of all those people, those Portuguese. It makes them attractive people.
But she could be the reason that the Trump administration finally gets brought down. We need to get her back from Brazil. We need to get her testifying on the stand. Everything she knows.
So it turns out some TikToker was making videos about this way before Melania even came out and made this video, this impromptu. So now I imagine those TikTok videos are going to get brought to the forefront. Because I guess he got wind of this story and he was already doing stuff about it before it even hit and went mainstream.
About this woman and tangentially the President of the United States.
Paula Zampolli is the former modeling agent who brought Melania to the United States for Donald Trump back in the 90s and has been in business with Donald Trump since the 90s. They did the whole modeling agencies together. They did the whole real estate world together. Paula is a United Nations diplomat. He was a part of the first Trump administration, and he is very involved in the current administration. Right, okay, we've been talking about this guy since July. We know. As you guys know, I recently made contact with Amanda Ungaro, and we are now in communication on a regular basis. Amanda Ungaro is the mother of Paula Zampoli's child, who he began grooming at the age of 15 years old. She was a victim of Jeffrey's operation. She was on Jeffrey's plane at just 16 years old. We knew that she was on Jeffrey's plane at 17 years old, per the flight logs that were released by the DOJ in 2021.
So that's hardcore solid evidence of what Melania is trying to deny. So I guess someone's going to say that these are AI generated, and I can imagine how many hard copies of pictures that she has, going back 20 years. That means she has literal physical photos, not just, digitally into a phone and things of that nature. So there's some hardcore evidence, all right, against it, which is showing all the sex trafficking and all the wickedness. And see that, and this is the Lord. The Lord said he's going to expose them. There's no running and hiding. They tried to bury this with this war, and it didn't work. The Lord brought this back into the, because the, second What's that scripture I'm looking for? 2 Thessalonians. See, the Spirit starts working. 2 and 8. You could actually read 2 all the way up to 8, but I'm gonna just jump right to 8. And 2 Thessalonians 2 and 8. And then shall the wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. So the spirit of the Lord's mouth are the prophets, the men of the Lord, because the Lord speaks to the world, to man, through his prophets. That's scriptural. All right. Through his prophets. Let's back that up with scripture. Amos 3 and 7. This is why the churches can't give you the truth, and a lot of those other camps can't give you the truth either. The Lord's not dealing with a lot of these people. But this is Amos 3 and 7, and it reads, I'm going to start at verse 6, but the point is in 7. Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? Shall there be an evil in the city, and Yahweh have not done it? Surely the Lord power will do nothing, but he revealeth his secrets unto his servants, the prophets. All right? So it's the prophets that can go into this book, understand it, understand the prophecies, and then filter modern day events in their prophecies through the scriptures. Only the prophets are able to do that. And if you notice, now all these Christians and these Johnny-come-laters and wannabes are watching the Israelite videos, mainly Great Millstone, learning from us, and then going and out making videos, as if they, if the Lord came to them and gave them this. And there's so many of them. And now you got Edom teaching about Edom. You got the white Christians pointing out the Israeli converts, the little hats, as being Edom, and they are. And then you have the rabbis pointing out white Christianity as being Edom, Rome, and they are. They're both Edom. But I digress.
Since speaking to Amanda, she has confirmed that she was on Jeffrey's plane at the age of 16, earlier than we even realized. Amanda has known John Casablancas since she was 13 years old, and we know Paulo actually grew up with John Casablancas, and John Casablancas is the man who inspired Paulo to become a modeling agent. Amanda was a victim and witness to Jeffrey's operation. She has a lot of information about the inner workings of this operation. She was on Jeffrey's plane with Jean-Luc Brunel. She has a very unique perspective into this entire situation. And as we know and have been reporting on, in June of 2025, Amanda was wrongfully arrested and held in an ICE detention facility for nearly 4 months. After being held for that period of time, she was deported to Brazil without any kind of due process or trial. Amanda has a fantastic team of attorneys.
See, no due process, no trial. And America is notorious for that. Title 4D child support. Gotta bring it up. Some people get locked up, and they get no due process, no trial. All right. America does things that violates the law of the land in order to enforce policy that are statutes and codes that are unlawful, and those policies, make other people wealthy, which is why they do it, and nobody's standing up against it. And now people are starting to say enough. All right. Civil unrest is basically banging on the door at this point.
Attorneys who are currently helping her get justice for her wrongful arrest, her wrongful deportation, the parental kidnapping and alienation of the child that she shares with Paulo. Those are all ongoing proceedings, and on the 21st of this month, Amanda will testify in front of the Supreme Court of New York City, while acknowledging she has years of legal battles ahead of her. We hope that the 21st begins a series of wins for her and her future. With permission from Amanda's legal counsel, she has been given the permission to speak on a wide range of things that have happened to her and are currently happening to her. Can't talk about everything right now, but after some of the upcoming legal proceedings that she has, she will be able.
They're probably going to unalive this woman. She's going to meet with an accident. All right. If she's out the country, maybe they'll just take, they'll take out a whole plane, 200, 300 people just to get one person. Make it look like an accident. One of those phone calls.
To say more. So I'm going to share with you some information that Amanda has given me permission and her legal team have given permission for me to share with you guys. What I'm about to share with you is Amanda's own words. So I'm going to be reading from a screen so I can make sure I say everything correctly.
Okay, we're going to listen to what Amanda has to say. But mark my words and I tell you that, this poor woman what she's gone through, but that's that's punishment. Like I said, have evil been done in the city and the Lord have not done it? I'm sure she's prayed to white Jesus. There is no such thing. She prays to Mary. She's more than likely a Catholic. She married an Italian. Okay, she even had a terror baby. So do not be, I'm not going to feel sorry for her, but you best believe when you're messing with people this big with this kind of money, they found more than 200 barrels of sulfuric acid on Jeffrey's Island. And we all know what they use that for. That is to get rid of bodies. So do not be shocked if between now and this court date, this woman comes up missing or meets with an accident.
If you want to read the stuff yourself and see receipts and everything like that, you can go over to my Substack. I've already laid it all out and it's published on my page. So I'm going to share this message from Amanda with you guys. And then after that, I'm going to go over a few different names of figures that Amanda has given me. These are figures who are aware of what's going on within our government and are assisting Paulo in his quest to silence and seek revenge against Amanda. Okay.
So this is your first lady. All right. As the leader is, so are the people. So not only is her husband corrupt, right, but his wife, he married a woman that he pulled out of that he got from the sex ring that was being operated. She was in it. I guess he decided, to be Captain Saberho, and he saved Melania. Okay, because she definitely was, on them poles. Getting rained on, But, let me get another scripture. Just thinking of one of Malachi. Yeah, this is Malachi 1:1. The burden of the word of Yahweh to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, saith Yahweh, yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother? Saith Yahweh, yet I loved Jacob and hated Esau, which is repeated in Romans, the 9th chapter, which basically lets you know that the Lord is coming back for the Israelites according to the flesh, his kinsmen. Not all people. All right. Whereas it says, and I hated Esau and laid his mountains, meaning his countries, his rulership, waste, and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Whereas Edom says, we are impoverished, and that was the fall of Rome. And then Negroes took over all, Israelites took over all of Europe and ruled in Europe from the 1st century all the way up until the Renaissance. And Edom whitewashed and tried to hide that history, and now it's coming out like a flood. And with the Israelites, we've been bringing out, on the internet, it's ever since, the apostles and elders started doing videos in 2007. All right. This is where we are impoverished, but we shall return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness. The people against Yahweh have indignation forever. So they built themselves back up, and now their wickedness has reached into the heavens, and the Lord is bringing them down. And one of the ways he's bringing them down is through the hatred that their women have for them and the foolishness of women. Because Melania just should have kept her mouth shut. All right. But you see the sort of strain that she was under. You can see why she did this impromptu speech. All right.
From Amanda Ngaro, 1/18/2026. This is not family drama. This is a criminal operation. I have witnessed many things since I was a teenage girl who who became swept up in this nightmare. I have photos to prove the physical abuse I have experienced at the hands of Paulo. I have proof of his longtime substance use issues. I have information and proof of his fraudulent business dealings and millions of dollars worth of insurance fraud that Paulo has committed. I have proof that me and my family have faced harassment, threats, and blackmail from Paulo for years. I have information and proof of government and public officials being bribed by Paulo. I have proof Paulo began trying to date me when I was 15 years old, and it is true that I was on Jeffrey Epstein's plane as a teenager. I was only 16 years old the first time I was put on his plane. I have proof Paulo abandoned his own mother in a nursing home in Italy after stealing her jewelry and other valuable items. If a man can rip away his own mother's dignity without a second thought, you can imagine what Paulo is capable of. I faced a false arrest based on manufactured charges. I was forced to stay in an ICE detention facility for months before I was deported to Brazil, where I have been fighting for justice. My paperwork and history of work for the United Nations did not stop the government from treating me like an animal. For 3 years before I was wrongfully arrested, I supported myself and my son without financial assistance from Paulo. In the years leading up to my arrest, Paulo and I did not have a romantic relationship, following an affair that he had in Washington, D.C. Paulo did call me his wife, and we were together for 19 years, but legally we were never married. During that time, Paulo was only a present father to fit his narrative and to appear to the public as a loving father. I did not keep our son away from him and allowed him to still see his father. I moved to Miami with my son to enter the workforce, really for the first time outside of my 10 years of work for the United Nations. My attempt to be independent and create distance between myself and Paulo enraged him, and everything got worse, especially when I filed for full custody. The court awarding me full custody would mean Paulo would have to pay years of unpaid child support and continue to financially support our son into adulthood.
Which is wicked as hell, because as bad as this man Paulo is, he is a piece of shit. He was taking care of his son the whole time. And so just because he was not in a contract, they're gonna back, so basically the fact that he raised his son and clothed him, fed him, sent him to school, took him on trips around the world, whatever. All right. And now you want to back pay child support when he supported him the whole time? Man, I'm glad the Lord is bringing this place down.
This was not something that fit Paulo's narrative, something he is desperate to control. I was being harassed relentlessly. My family and friends were harassed as well and even followed in some cases. Shortly after, I began working a job at a medical assistant training school that specializes in minimally invasive procedures. I was associated with a med spa in Miami. Many anonymous complaints began to flood in. The man that I was arrested with was my romantic partner at the time and is now my husband. He is an awarded plastic surgeon of 30 years who conducts teaching seminars across the world. 3 months before being arrested and booked in June, police showed up unannounced to our home. Police came into our home and took me and my partner out in handcuffs. We were thrown against the wall outside of our home, and neighbors began to come outside because of the police presence. They were shocked. We were shocked. Neither of us have a criminal record, yet we were handled with extreme force, humiliated, and made a spectacle out of. We were humiliated. We waited for an hour for the police to get a search warrant. They destroyed our home and found nothing. The officers then went to my workplace and were there for hours. They confiscated equipment properly approved, lasers by regulatory agencies, medical documents, and patient records.
So this is getting juicy, man. It's like a damn soap opera come to life. But as you can see, Esau is a diabolical, murderous, false accuser. And through his media and so he can bring up false charges, send his law enforcement, send his agents to come arrest you, all right? And basically it's, and tell his lie, his version of the story. Usually the first thing that people hear is what they believe, all right? Which is often a lie. And where the innocent gets blamed, all right? But this time, I'm gonna make this the last scripture. This is because this popped in my head. I had recently read it, and this is Esther 2:21, and it reads, "In those days, when Mordecai sat in the king's gate, 2 of the king's chamberlains, Bigtham and Teresh, of those which kept the door, were wroth and sought to lay hands on King Ahasuerus. All right. And the king, and this thing was known to Mordecai, who told it unto Esther the queen, which was the king's wife. And Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name. And when inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out. See, Esau is being found out. All right. And it says, therefore, they were both hanged on a tree. And it is written in the book of the Chronicles before the king. And so Esau's about to meet his end. He's making all these plans to destroy everyone around him to stay in power. And nothing's going to save you from your judgment. James 2:13 is coming for you. Revelation 18:6 is coming for you. Ezekiel 25:12-14 is coming through you. Isaiah 34:8 is coming for you. Isaiah 34:5 is coming for you. Isaiah 36:5. Isaiah 63:1-5. You are not going to escape what is about to happen to you. All right? Okay, you're in a game of chess. Okay, and you're getting slowly checkmated. You're running out of moves. You're running out of places to move. All your all your major pieces have been taken. You maybe have a few pawns ready to sacrifice themselves for you to try to hide behind, but eventually your kingship is going to be taken. All right. So with that, I want to give all praises, all honor and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakaha, Kodash, Kwam, Yasarala, Abba, Babal.